We are honored here to have Sister Joohi Tahir with us to talk about the important work of Muhsen and the effort to bring Muhsen initiatives to the Kansas City community. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Joohi. Can you briefly share the mission of Muhsen and how the organization started?
So, Assalamu alaikum. The mission of Muhsen has always been to provide a community that is going to be welcoming and accepting of our loved ones with disabilities and special needs. We started back in 2014, and this has been a labor of love. I myself, as a mother of a young adult with special needs, had a situation where, as our daughter was growing up, we felt more and more that there was isolation. There was a lot of isolation in the community. People did not understand, nor were they as aware about special needs and what it takes to accommodate for these people. And the part that was especially painful in the community was that we knew that disability affected the person who was living with it, the individual themselves, but we also started to discover that disability was affecting the entire family. So, the unit around the individual, the parents who are the primary caregivers most often, the siblings, the extended family. So, with that said, it isolated more than just the person who was living with the disability. So the mission of Mohsen was to bring those families back, so to speak, into the community, bring them to events that we were having around the masjid. We wanted to advocate for these families because no one was really speaking up about them. And alhamdulillah, now it's been over 14 years on this mission, and Mohsen has grown and grown, and the impact is now being seen, mashallah, with loving, accepting communities being added day by day on this journey.
What are some common challenges Muslim families with special needs and children face in the community?
Some of the more common challenges that Muslim families are facing who live with someone with a disability would definitely be just the caregiver burnout. The burnout is real. Someone who's a caregiver, oftentimes, whether the person is physically dependent or even if someone has a cognitive disability, they're dependent on someone for making all of those decisions, sometimes just life skills and day to day. And so the burnout for the caregiver is a huge challenge for family members. And not having the understanding of the support in the community adds to that burnout. So with Mohsen, we've been able to create support groups, really welcoming support groups for these family members who can come together, oftentimes with a licensed professional, and share the challenges, share some of the potential solutions, and have just a safe space with no judgment to speak about it. Some of the other challenges were, as I was mentioning, accessing the community. So, if I, as a mother, wanted to go to Jummah at the mosque, it was very difficult for me because as my daughter was young, she was oftentimes, as individuals with autism do, she was always moving. She always had some sort of vocalizations, and as a young child, people look at that as misbehavior or as a disturbance. And there just wasn't enough awareness for people to realize this was part of her disability. So I wasn't able to go to the events that I wanted to go to with that kind of understanding or that comfort. There were many times when I would leave an event that I tried to attend just because there wasn't a good space for my daughter to be in. And with people all around, at times making comments, or at times even their children not understanding and almost not wanting to communicate with her or participate with her, that was extremely painful. And stigma is one of the real challenges of having a family member. In a lot of our cultures, we have grown up with a stigma around mental health, around disability, special needs, any kind of illness. It's unfortunate, but people are almost afraid to come out of the woodworks. They almost feel like they did something wrong. And of course, that's not what Islam teaches us about disabilities. These people are incredibly blessed individuals. They bring so much barakah into our lives. And we have to change that narrative. And Mohsen was setting out to change that narrative. So to break the stigma was one of the missions of Mohsen, and it strengthened numbers. And when families come out the way they have, people started to form community around it.
Why is it important for Muslim communities and masjids to focus on accessibility and inclusion for individuals with disabilities?
The role of the masjid we feel is very, very important. This is the center of life for a lot of Muslims living in North America. And one of the clear cut examples of that is, where is an Eid gathering done? Where are Sunday schools done? Where are there potlucks and dinners and community social events done? They generally hover around or center around the masjid. And so for us, the masjid's role was pivotal when we established Muhsen. We started a certification program because we said, we do have some expertise in this area and we want to shed light on those points for the local masjid leaders. We teach through advocacy and through some trainings we do. We train the youth in those communities. We train the staff and the boards in those communities in order to teach them the accommodations that are really simple that can be put into place. So the masjid's role is really key in welcoming in these people. And remember, if we take it back to the tradition of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we know that in his absolute beloved community, everyone was welcome. And this was such a big part of what he, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, would do. He would absolutely look for people and especially advocate for those who had illness or who had disability. And he wanted to always welcome them in. So this is not new to our community. This is, in fact, reviving a sunnah of what we should be doing all the time. And so the masjid has a very, very key role in this and a responsibility for all community members.
What excites you about bringing Mohsen to the Kansas City area?
What's so exciting about having Muhsin come to a new area is the thought of how many families and individuals these types of programs could help. For us to be able to, inshallah, be a part of the Kansas City community is very exciting. We know that families reach out all the time. We know that those families are lacking the services and programs right now on the ground. And so we really look forward to coming in and helping to support and implement some of that programming. Our years of experience has taught us what works and what doesn't work. And so with that, we look forward to working with community members in Kansas City and helping out and supporting those families along this journey.
And why is it important for the community to do the survey, and how will the results help guide the next steps?
Mohsen has never been about what we want. It's about what you want. It's about what the families want. The world is a varied place and people have varied needs. Myself, along with our co-founder, Sheikh Omar Suleiman, we had and have family members living with disabilities. And we had our own opinions around how that experience was. However, it was extremely important from the very, very start in 2014 to be able to survey families on the ground. This was a very grassroots effort. We formed a needs assessment survey and we wanted opinions on what families wanted to see. And so Mohsen was born out of that. It was truly born out of what other people needed and what people in the community told us so that we'd get the wide breadth of services.
What message would you like to share with parents and families who have children with special needs?
Message that I really want to share with parents and families with disabilities and special needs would be to please come out. Come out to the events being planned, take the surveys, give your voice to these issues, because without you, we can't do this work. We really, really need your input. It's very, very difficult, I know, as a family who's been through this, to come out and attend events and meet new people and attempt to take your loved one into the community, but please do it. It's what we truly, truly need is your participation in this.
How can community members, volunteers, and local masjids support Mohsen's efforts in Kansas City?
What's needed in all of our communities, our Muslim communities nationwide, is volunteers. We need people to come out and get trained. It's not so overwhelming to be around people with special needs if you get familiar with them. So get the training that Muhsen provides, become a volunteer with Muhsen. If you have a particular skill or a craft or something that you're able to do, just offer it up. Offer it up to the organizers. You don't need to be in the medical field to do this, although it's wonderful if you'd like to take your time and do that. Otherwise, young professionals, college students, people are able to help from all walks of life. You would be amazed if you're particularly skilled at artwork, you can come out and do an art workshop with people with special needs. If you're particularly skilled in IT, you can offer your services to those at the masjid who are managing a database. Things like that. I think volunteering is really key to this community work that we all do together. Muhsen's foundation is our volunteers. We all started as volunteers at Muhsen, and we have a very, very formalized program on how to become a Muhsen volunteer, and that's something you can always find online and get involved.
Beyond physical and architectural changes, training volunteers and staff is crucial. Can you tell me more about the training Mohsen provides? For instance, for the one on one TAs in weekend schools or for volunteers providing respite care, what are the most important skills you look for?
So, as a volunteer, there are so many opportunities that someone could avail. We have a weekend school, so a traditional Sunday school type of program with Muhsin for Muhsin kids. And so, to become a TA, there's a very specific training that we do give. Our school manager is able to teach how to teach the material one to one, how to look for certain characteristics of these students and certain behaviors of the students. So, that training is available to you. As a volunteer, we need respite care. Respite care is not just babysitting. We have adults and children who have disabilities who are part of our population. So, respite care teaches you how to look for certain cues, how to communicate with people with special needs, how to be able to engage them, even if somebody is nonverbal, how to engage with someone if they're deaf, and even if you don't know sign language, how to work with people with mobility disabilities, and how to help maneuvering them and empowering them at the same time. So, a lot of these trainings are provided by Mohsen. You're not going to have to do any of this alone. And we are always looking to grow our volunteer pool across all our many programs.
One of the biggest barriers to inclusion is often cost, particularly for physical infrastructure like ramps, elevators, or accessible wazoo stations. What advice or resources does Mohsen provide to masjids that have the will but lack the financial means for major renovations?
One of the things about the Muslim Masjid certification program that we run across the nation in hundreds of communities is that we don't actually have a membership fee. We don't have fees that we charge to masajid across the nation. We are not asking people to renovate their masjids. We actually do make suggestions about accessibility. We do make suggestions about the workarounds that we can do. But in all my years doing this, I've never renovated a masjid in order to be Muslim certified. If it's a simple solution like a wudu station, we have very detailed advice on how to order like a small gadget from Amazon that would help someone make wudu, for example, who's in a wheelchair. So there are ways to do things without incurring a huge cost. There are no major reconstruction costs needed when we work with the masajid. And we'd love to talk to you more about how that works, but there's always a way as long as there's a willingness on the part of the community.
How can the average Muslim family member who may not have a personal connection to special needs become an effective ally and volunteer to support Muslims' mission at their local masjid?
People want to see people who care. People want to know that there are other people in the community who care about their life and their challenges and their struggles. So, in order to form allies, I think it's really important that the community goes beyond people with special needs and onto the general community. Oftentimes, when Mohsen enters an area, we try to do a general awareness event. That event is targeted towards people who aren't living with disabilities so that they know what the struggles are and how to support better. Oftentimes those people are the best allies that we have when it comes to volunteers, when it comes to leadership support. It's people who actually have free hands, people who are not living the day to day. And inshallah, those are the ones who can become the best allies and advocates for people.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Sister Joohi Tahir. And I just want to thank you so much for your time and the explanations. And inshallah, hope to see you and possibly even Dr. Umar Suleiman here in the near future. And anybody who is listening, I would highly suggest to reach out to your local masjid and to get more information. And also, we will share more information regarding Mohsen with any upcoming activities or events in the near future. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.